Hello, and welcome back to AutoGPT Tutorials. We have an exciting video lined up for you today. Have you heard about LangChain? It's a cutting-edge tool that's empowering creators like you and me to build innovative applications. And today, we're going to show you how to create your very first command line interface, or CLI, app using Python and LangChain. Sounds exciting? Well, it's about to get even better. We're thrilled to announce that today's tutorial is brought to you by one of our brilliant community members, CodeGeeks. CodeGeeks is known for their insightful and easy-to-understand tutorials, and we're certain you're going to love this one. So if you're a beginner looking to dive into the world of coding, or an experienced coder looking to explore new tools, this video is perfect for you. Grab your coding hats, because we're about to embark on an exciting journey of learning and exploration. Remember, the only prerequisite is your curiosity and passion for learning. Now, let's get started with this beginner-friendly LangChain tutorial.
So let's get started here. I'm here at the Visual Studio Code website. So just download that and install it. And then once you got that set up, it's just straight ahead, next. You just press next a bunch of times. You're going to open it up. And then what you're going to do is you can go File, Open Folder, or you can just simply drag in the folder you want to use. So I'm going to, I have a folder here called LC Starter for LangChain. So I just drag that in here and it opens us up right inside that folder. All right. So now once we're in here, we want to run our terminal. So you can go up here to terminal, you can say new terminal, and you can see here it shows that we can hit control and the tilde mark or the back tick. It's under the escape key to the left of the number 1, usually on the keyboard. So you can do the same thing, toggle back and forth between that terminal. You can see it opens up down here. I'm just control and hitting that back tick key. Make sure you're in the directory that you want to be in. And then what we want to do is set up a virtual environment for Python. To do that, just type in Python 3-m for module, and then virtual env, and then whatever you want to call your environment. So if you wanted to call it Steve, you'd put Steve there. I'm going to call mine env, just like that, and hit enter. This will take a few minutes to get rocking here. You can see it's already created the folder over here on the left. And then it ran through, everything looks good. So this is our virtual environment, and this is where we're going to be working out of. Now, we're never really going to have to enter this folder, but how you can tell if your virtual environment is running is you're going to see over here to the left, I'm highlighting this area here, you're going to see env. I'll show you here. So to start it, env, whatever you called it, mine's called env, and then a slash, and then you're going to say scripts activate, like so. And now you can see that env here. So we're in our virtual environment. That's where we want to be. We want to install everything that we're going to be using in this environment. The next thing we're going to do is let's make a requirements text. Now, as we move forward, if you're totally new to this, it's okay. You're going to see how this works. It's basically a place where when we install stuff into our environment, if we come back to it, a year from now or 5 years from now, we want to set up our environment the same way that it was when we were using it. So how you do that is you create a document called Requirementstxt. Now I could simply mouse click over here, say new file, and then save a document, requirements.txt. But you can also do it here in the terminal, and I'll show you how you do that. I'm going to say pip freeze. We're going to put in the greater than symbol, and then There's nothing in it, but as we move forward, there will be some stuff in there. All right, now we got this set up. We'll come back in the next video and start working on our project. All right, guys, welcome back. So I've created a little file here called section 1, and it's a markdown file. I'm just going to add the notes to it so you guys can copy and paste a lot of this stuff. And then when you see me copying and pasting, then you'll know where to grab the stuff. It's available, of course, at GitHub and at the website. So both places. And if you guys can remember to follow me on YouTube, subscribe, get me on LinkedIn, and then also follow me on the old GitHub there. It would be really helpful. You know, looking for a gig, all the stuff kind of helps out, right? These are the first 2 commands that we ran. I want to point out too that sometimes if that doesn't work, the Python 3, just try Python like that. And then of course, I don't want to leave you stranded, but the only other suggestion that I have right now is just to post a question in the forums. You know, send me an email if you can't get this going, or do a Google search and see what other people have done to get this rocking and rolling. But this should work. It should work on Windows anyway. So the next thing you're going to have to do is get set up with an OpenAI account. Now, this is free, so go over to OpenAI, and I'm going to put the link right in here for you. Like I said, it's free. They give you credits in the beginning. I think $18 for the credits, which is way more than you're going to need to run through this course. So I'm going to paste that link in here. And what we're going to do is grab an API key. Now, I already have one set up, but I'm going to just set up a new one. And I'm going to call this LangChain. Create the key. Copy it. Now, once you do that, I don't think you can access these anymore. Like, you can't get the information. So make sure you, let's see here. Now you can save the name again, but you can't get the key. So make sure you copy that and then go back to your code editor. I'm just going to paste that in here for now so people can use it. No, I'm kidding. So I have it. And then what we want to do is create a new file here, and we're going to call this secrets.py for Python. And then I'm going to pass that key in here like that. I'm going to surround this baby with quotations. And then before it, I'm going to set this as, right now, let me do it all in caps as a constant. So LangChain _key. I got to see how they're wanting it, you know, how LangChain needs it formatted. You'll see what I mean here in a second. So LangChain key equals, and that should be good. What's wrong here? Maybe because the name secrets is not a good. Let's try this here. Rename. It's probably conflicting with some just secret. That should work. There we go. So yeah, just call the file secret, singular, not plural. So secret.py. And then what was happening, I guess, it's conflicting with a Python library or something like that called secrets. So that's probably what's going on there. I usually call it secret anyway. I thought secrets would be better, but here we go. All right, so we got that in there. And then let's create a new file here, and we'll just call this main.py. All right. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go to LangChain. So I'm going to grab this URL, of course, copy that, and then put that in our, get rid of that key here. I'll just put that in there for now. And then look at their quick start docs. So we've got to do a couple of installations here. So we're going to follow this. I'll put this in here as well. And then in our terminal, so again, if yours is not open, make sure you're in the env. So I showed you how to do that. Here's the command to do that. And then what we want to do is run this command right in here. So I'm just going to paste that command in there and hit enter. And all this stuff, when we do these commands, right, this install, it's getting installed inside of our env folder. So if you go into the env folder, right, and you go into this lib directory, okay, and you can see there's a site packages here. We should be able to find LangChain now. There we go, LangChain, and it installed a bunch of other stuff for us as well. Now to check that out, what we're going to do is run this pip freeze command again. So I didn't actually put that in there. I'll put it up here. So it's pip freeze, and then greater than, and then requirements.txt. Let me collapse these folders. So I'm going to copy that and just paste that in here. Now if we open our requirements, check it out. There's all the stuff we just installed with that LangChain command. Installed all the dependencies that go along with that package. All right, so I'm also going to do, if you get this message here, it's nice enough to tell me to upgrade my pip. So I'm going to just copy that. I'll put that in here too in case you need it, but if you need it, you probably will see it in your terminal. So paste that in. All right, we got that done. The next thing we want to do, go back to LangChain, and we want to install this as well. So we're going to grab that. We're going to come back. We're going to paste that in. So we're going to install OpenAI. Then what we're going to do is let's just open up our requirements again. I'll show you. So we've got what, 30 lines here now. Let's run that pip freeze again. I'm just hitting the up arrow to go through the last commands. There we go. So this file's been updated, and now we have about the same. It doesn't look, let's see, OpenAI, it looks like it just added two lines here. So let's close that. All right, I think we're good for right now. When we come back, we're going to actually import our key into our main and then start interacting with our large language model. All right, see you in a sec. All right, we're almost there. We're almost there. So the next thing we want to do here is we want to import our key. So we're going to open our main, and then in that file at the very top, we're going to say import. Actually, we're going to say from. And then we're going to put secret. We're going to import, and then what did we call that? LangChain Key. Now, I don't think that's the right name. We're going to have to change this name in a little bit here, but for now that'll work just to get this set up. And then up here, what we want to do is import OS for operating system. That just comes with Python, right? So we want to import operating system, and then we want to say from secret import LangChain Key, and then down here we want to set the actual key. So we're going to say os.environ, and then we're going to put in some square brackets for a list, and we're going to put in a pair of quotes. We're going to grab that, paste it there, and then we're going to come outside of those brackets and say equals that same thing. Like I said, I don't think this is going to work. We're going to have to update at least this part here, because this is what LangChain is going to be looking for. So let's actually go over to LangChain's docs. Yeah, it's actually OpenAI key we want, not LangChain Key. So that's what we're looking for. So we can change that there. And let's also change the name of it here in our secret. So I'll call this just simply OAI key. And then back here, what we're going to have to do is rename that to OAI, and then this as well here, OAI. All right, so we've got that set. We'll stop here, we'll come back, we'll start importing LangChain and start running some code. I promise you, this next video, you're going to see stuff happening. All right, see you in a sec. Thanks. All right, so right out of the gate, we're just gonna, in these first couple of videos, is just walk through some of this documentation at LangChain. I just think it's a good way to get familiar with what's going on and how to get things kind of set up. So the very first thing that we should do is import the large language model from OpenAI, and that's this bit of code here. So we'll go back to our editor, open our main file here and just paste that in. Go back and grab that. And I'll walk through this here once we get this stuff going on here. So it's just this little bit of code, right? So what's happening is, as I said, we're importing the model here, and we're assigning it to this variable. This temperature here, they talk about this right here in the top. So the higher that number is, the more random the response is going to be. So if you're iterating over documents or something, serious, you want that to probably be set to like 0, okay? But if you're doing something more creative, like we are here, I think the highest creativity, we'll call it, is 0.9. So their question is about colorful socks. What's a good name for a company? Let's run that. And what's happening is we're grabbing the large language model, and then we're assigning this bit of text here to this. We're putting this as an input to the model, and then we get the response. So that's what's happening. So I'll just run this example. Activation. All right, you could also do the same thing by just putting in text here. So we're not even using this anymore. We could say what's a good name for a guitar company that makes pink guitars. Run that. Okay, pink strum guitars. So when we come back next, we're actually going to look how we can prompt. That's going to be very important going forward. That's probably the most important thing about using these large language models. So this is going to be a bit of an introduction to that, but just keep in mind that this is going to be something that's critical to working with these models moving forward. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how we can actually prompt our large language model. So right now what we've got is basically a way to interact with OpenAI, and you can do that right on the OpenAI website. The cool thing about LangChain is that it allows us to set up a prompt so we don't have to write out what's a good name for a company, for example. It can just be an input of colorful socks or pink guitars. If you're iterating over documents, for example, you may not want the user to have to type out, find this document in this list of documents. All they have to do is put in a name or something like that, or a document title or what have you. That's the idea of prompts, and there's actually companies that hire just prompt engineers, people that build these prompts. So you can kind of get the idea how important this is. So let's head over to LangChain here. We've done all that. We'll grab that. I'm going to paste that in here. I'm going to comment out from our previous video this line because we don't want to run that again. And then what I'll do is this import here, I'm going to move it up to the top. And then print stuff here. So I'll grab that. I can just click that, I guess. And then come down here and paste that in. So if we run this right now, we're not actually getting any kind of interaction happening with the large language model. There's other models besides OpenAI and they're free. But for this introduction series, I thought OpenAI would be the quickest, easiest one to use. So we're not using the model at all here. We're just set up a prompt. That's it. So let's run this. And we're getting what we expected. What is a good name for a company that makes, and then we're passing in this variable here of product. Product is equal to colorful socks, right? So we could say here dogs, and if we run that again, we get colorful dogs. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to take our prompt and pass that into the language model. So this is where things start to get kind of interesting. So we've already got our prompt set up, we've imported it, etc. This is all done. What we want to do next is import this thing called a chain, so where the name LangChain, I guess, comes from, but is a way to chain together the large language model with the prompt. Okay, so let's copy that, head back over here. I'm just going to paste that in there. We're importing the chain here, the LLM chain. Let's put that up there, and then we're calling it here. So these happen to be named the same thing here, but for example, we could call this prompt LLM, and we can call this Lang model, like that. And then here we would have to actually change that up, right? To Lang model, and this to prompt LLM. Let me grab this here and move it down. And in order to run this, what we've got to do is change this up to run this now. So we're going to say chain run, and we're passing in our product still. But now the cool thing is we're going to get some output from our language model up here, right? So let's run this and see what happens. Colorful canines. Okay, so we're passing this in. We're passing in the user input, and then we're getting back colorful canines. Another cool thing that you can do with these chains is you can set this to verbose equals true, and then you can see the actual prompt getting run. So let me run this here, entering the chain prompt after formatting. Here's what's going in. Finish the chain, and we get rainbow pups. Now, I also want to show you about these templates, what else we can do here. Very simply, like this is already a pretty cool app, right? You could have this on your website, company name or whatever, you know? But let's do this. Let's change this to, I don't know, let's just call it input. Because, and then what we got to do, now I'm going to run this just to show you how this is all working. We're going to get an error here because these variables don't match up. So it actually says mismatched or missing parameters for product, right? So these have to be the same thing, right? So that, and then here, this is now going to be called input, all right? So if we run that again, I just want to walk through this with you. We get the same question, Rainbow Puppies Co. Okay, but what if we start changing this up a little bit and we come up here and say, something like that. This could be, described better, but now let's come down here and say, what is the name of the Canadian Prime Minister? Okay, let's run that. All right, Justin Timberlake, get it? All right, so you can see how we can actually add some personality to the language model using these prompts. And I was actually going to demonstrate like a dating kind of thing, but I thought that might be too risky for this type of thing. I don't know, but like a flirtatious kind of AI bot. Yeah, it's just, you can do all kinds of neat stuff with this. So if you go to ChatGPT, for example, and ask it what the day is today, well, let's try it right now. Let's just in a business style of writing. So we'll say here, what is today's date? Today is October 7th, 2019. Right? We know that's not true. It's 2023. So now we're starting to demonstrate some of the failings of these large language models, but we've got tools that we can use to get around this. All right, we'll be back and we'll start taking a look at that. All right, guys, so where we left off is we were asking about the date, and these large language models are not up to date as far as, current events, right? They get fed this information, a bunch of information, and then they can answer questions based on the information that they have, but they can't really interact with the current world. So what we're going to do is take a look here at something called SERP API. You can see here's my key and stuff. So I'm going to put this link into, here we go, in here, and then you guys can go set up a key. It's free. I think you get 100 requests a day. What we're going to do then is go into our secret file and then set up a constant here, SERP API, and we'll say that equals to quotations, and then what we'll do is grab the key. And I'll put that back in here. We want to actually import that now into our main file here. From secret, import this, and then we're going to put a comma and then SERP API. We want to also do this line again here. And this is going to be equal to SERP API. Now this part has to change. Let's take a look here at what they got going on. Okay, they don't really show us. What I mean is I don't know what variable this is going to be looking for. So let's try SERP API key. So we'll just change this OpenAI part here to SERP. And let's come down here now and grab this. That. And then also we're going to have to run this command here. So I'm going to throw this in the, it's a pip install. I'll put this in here for us as well. So a pip install, so let's run that. I've already done it, but I'll just run it again here. So pip install Google-search-results. Satisfied on my end, but that'll just take a second to run through. And then if we go back to our main, let's grab this. I'm down here. I'm going to comment this part out. And then instead of saying chain.run, we're not calling the model. We're just going to call the search. So we'll say search run. And we'll hit that. See what happens. It didn't find the key, so SERP API under, okay, so it does tell us what it needs. That's kind of cool. That's what I mean. I didn't know what it was looking for, right? Like SERP, what did I call it? Yeah, SERP API. So let's change that to that. There we go. And then this is what we named it in our secret, so we should be good to go here now. Let's try that. Query. Okay, so this is the positional argument. It doesn't take this as a positional argument. This is kind of what can be confusing about using this library right now. We could change this to query. Let's try that. I think we could. And then let's try that out and see what we get here now. Yeah, so that worked. I think we could actually just take this right out too. If you just, it's just gonna know, right? So we'll take that out. What is today's date? We'll run that again. Yeah, and so we can ask it, you know, anything we want. So we're using a search engine. It's not that exciting yet, but I just wanted to show you now we are using, we call this, I guess, a tool, right? A tool that can go along with our large language model. We're going to see how to set that up coming up in the next section. All right, guys, let's make a new file here in our root directory, and I'm just going to call this chat.py. And then from our last file, the main file, we're going to grab these imports here because we're going to be using them all again. Paste them in here. And then what else do we need here? Our language model. Probably should just grab everything and then just delete. We're not going to use the prompt right now. We're going to be using SERP API though. Grab all this. I've been messing around, so I don't know if we moved this up to the top in the last video. I don't know. But I'm just going to move this up here to our imports. That there. We should be good. We got to import a few other things though, because we want to now have our language model interact with our search, right? And then also just chat with the user. In order to do that, we've got to import a few things with the agents. So we're going to say from langchain.agents, we want to import tool. We also want to import agent type. And we want to import initialize agent. Like that. And then down here, what we want to do is we'll actually, yeah, we've got this set up here. So the way you set up these tools is basically you can set up in a list because you can have multiple tools, right? You could have a Wikipedia, search, whatever you want. But we're just going to set up one basic tool here. So here we're going to set a variable called tools. And then that's going to be set up as a list, okay? And then inside of this is where we can define a bunch of different tools. We're only going to be using one here, but you could have a Wikipedia, you could have a bunch of stuff going on in here. The way that works is we say tool, and then inside we set the parameters for the tool. It takes in a name, and we're going to set that equal to search, I guess. It could be, whatever you want to name it. I'll call it search. It takes in a function. So what does this do? That's set up as func. And that function that we want this to do is search.run. And then it also takes in a description. This is where you prompt it to tell it what to do. So for now, I'll just say useful for searching the internet. And that's it. And if we were going to add, oops, I forgot the equals there. We'll fix that. If you wanted to add another tool, you would just come down here, add a comma, and then continue on with your next tool. And so you know where this here is coming from is from right here, okay? So if we called this Baba Booey, we would have to change this to Baba Booey. And that only should be 1B. So I'll leave it like that, Baba Booey. So, and then we would run Baba Booey down here. Actually, I'll switch it back because it's supposed to be professional, right? But anyway, there you go. So that's the idea. I just wanted you to know how this knows what to do, right? So this is where we're calling it right here, search. All right, we got that set. We're going to come back and keep on moving forward here. To get our language model interacting with our tools, let's come down here. We're going to set up another variable. We'll call this agent chain. And the agent chain is where we're going to initialize agent. And then inside here, we're going to say agent equals. And this is where, if we take a look at the documents, go to agents here, I guess. Agent types. Here we go. We're going to be setting up this type of agent here. Okay, this conversational React description. Agent equals agent type dot conversational React description, just like that. All right, for now we can set verbose equal to false, and then we also want to pass in our other stuff here. What you do is before this is we're going to say tools equal to tools, because that's what we called it here, and we're going to say LLM equals to, what do we call it, Lang model. All right, and then we want to put a comma here as well. We can move some of this down so it's a little more readable. something like that. All right, so down here, all we have to do now is say agent chain.run right here. Let's try this out and see what's going on. All right, so we get an error message here, and I should have expected that, but let's see what we got. So it says that chain is expecting a dictionary, chat history, which we're going to get into this. This has to do with memory and an input. So let's assign that input again here and say that equals to what we have, and then run this again. We're still going to get an error, but let's see if one of these things goes away. Yeah, so it's looking for chat history. Let's try this. All right, you can see I'm going to explain this here in a little bit. This is actually not doing anything. We're kind of hacking it right now. This is hacking the input is what we're doing. That's all we're doing here. So we get this answer. I'm going to show you what else is going on here. So let me grab this, come down here, and I'm going to paste those in 3 times. And I'm going to say here, my name is Steve. And then I'm going to come down here and say, what's my name? Just to show you that this has no memory, right? So we're going to set that up coming up next. But let's see here. So it should print out 3 different things here. You can see it answers our question. It comes back and responds to me with, nice to meet you, Steve. And then it says, I don't know what your name is, blah, blah, blah. So we want to fix that. We're going to do that here coming up next. All right, so to set up this so we can have some memory in it, what we need to do is do another import here. So we're going to say from LangChain .memory import conversational buffer memory. Then down here we're going to assign that to, we'll call this chat memory equals that. We also need to set up a memory key. So we'll say memory key equals history, like so. And then down here, we need to tell our agent about this memory. So we called it up here chat memory. So down here, we have to put that argument in, and we'll just say memory equals chat memory, like that. Now that this is all set up, it should know who I am after we run this. So let's try that again. Okay, input keys. Let me try removing this from each one of these now, because I think that should do it. Let's try it again. If not, then I've got another trick up my sleeve. All right, it's looking for chat history. So yeah, let's call this chat history. And I think that should do it now. All right. You can see now it knows my name, right? It's remembering who I am with just that little bit of code. So let's set this to verbose true, just to see what's going on behind the scenes here, in the underbelly, if you will. Let's see what's going down. So you can see here it's using the search. Okay, so it knows my name. It asked me how it can help me, and it did use search to do that. So what if we ask it, what's today's date? It doesn't know the date, it seems like. Okay. It doesn't use the tool. We want it to use the tool, right? Let's come up here. And in the description, now we're going to be prompting this. This is a prompt. We'll say, and getting information about dates. Let's see if that fixes it. There we go. So you can see how these prompts are so important. When we come back, what we're going to do is set this up so we can actually type input into this and make it into like a little command line interface application. All right, guys, we'll be right back. To wrap up this little mini-series, I thought what we would do is turn this into a little command line interface tool where we can interact with our AI model down here in the command line. So I'm going to delete these lines here, and then for now what I'm also going to do is just comment out everything up here, right? And then, you know what, probably a better thing to do would be to uncomment that and then copy it, and let's make a new file here. Right in our root, I'm going to say CLI AI.py. That rhymed. All right, and then paste in everything from our last file, just as it was. And then what we can do is, well, let me see here. Did I cut it? I want to make sure I didn't. Yeah, so it's still there. I can actually just delete it all for now because it's cleaner that way. To get input, I assume you guys are new to Python, relatively new. So to get user input in the command line, there's a method called input. What we're going to do is set up a variable here, and I can just call it I for input. Input, put in our brackets, and then in here, to get some output to the screen, we're going to put in a string of text. So we can say ask AI, like that, and I'm putting this break in here so you'll see when we run it, so the cursor's not backed right up against the colon. If I run this file right now, you can see ask AI, and you can see how the cursor's a space away from the colon. That's why I put that space there. So that's cool. We can actually put in something, you know, it's not going to do anything. We can come down here and say print I, not 1, we want to print I. There. And if we run that, it's going to give us our Ask AI, hello, and then press enter, and then we get hello. But what we're more interested in doing, obviously, is getting some interaction with our AI model. Let's now grab our code from over here, from our previous file, just copy that, and I'm gonna just paste that in up here, and then come down here. I'm gonna cut this out of here and paste that here. Now what we can do is put our I variable right in here as our input. Let's run this file. Ask AI. Let's say, what time is it? So it's going out to get a search tool. And there we go, there's the time. But if you notice, every time we run this, right, it's quitting. We're not really keeping the conversation going. What we can do is we can say, while true, we want to do this. And then I'm going to move that over. You got to make sure it's indented, right? So now I can just comment that out, just so we don't run that, and run this file again. Ask AI. My name is Steve. So now I'll ask it, what's my name? Your name is Steve, so it's remembering. So we're all good. So we've got this cool little app. It's going to go all day though, all day long, right? We can't exit it. Well, the way you'd exit is just Control C. But to make this a little slicker, let's do a little if statement here. So if I equals, so double equals to quit, and this is going to be a string, then what we want to do is break. Else we want to do this. Let's try this now. Run our file. It doesn't know what I is. Sorry. So we're going to move this up above this because this file runs from top down, right? So it doesn't know what I is. So let's move that there and then try this now. Ask AI, how are you? I'm doing well. Let's say quit. And it quit. Let's do something else here. Just to make it a little cooler as well, we can say print. Thanks for chatting with me. Whatever you want, right? So let's try that. Okay, now what can I help you with? Quit. Thanks for chatting with me. Maybe. Talk later. The other thing we want to do before we get into this loop is maybe tell the user that they can type quit to exit the program. Okay, something like that. Let's try that out. So you can see that that gets printed. Then we come in here, we'll say hello AI, what day is it? And then we'll say quit. Thanks for chatting with me. Talk later. So that's, you can keep going with this, right? You could assign these to variables if you wanted to, and then put the variable in here, kind of like what we did here. All right, guys, thank you so very much. Remember, there's going to be follow-up videos on YouTube to this. So if you want to keep exploring with using large language models and LangChain, make sure you come over there. And then also, again, if you can please follow me on the old GitHub, subscribe to the YouTube, check out the website, go to LinkedIn and say hello. It's all helpful. I appreciate it so much, okay? And I hope you got some value out of this. All right, I appreciate it. Thank you. Just as I was about to push this up to GitHub, so you guys would have access to the code, I remembered that we didn't update our requirementstxt. So in order to do that, let's just open that up here, because we did that back in the beginning. And then we want to update that as well here. We should have done that along the way. I'll do it here now with you. Again, the command is just pip freeze greater than, and then requirementstxt. And I don't think anything got updated. I think well, maybe some other stuff got added. We didn't really add anything, I don't believe. Maybe we did a pip install on the SERP API. Let me see here. I don't see anything in there about that, but we should be good to go. Let me try that again. Let me just delete everything in here. Run that again. There we go. So we should have everything in there that we... Mine might be a little different because I got this DuckDuckGo search. Where is that? I just saw that. Here it is, right here. I was just testing it out. If you don't have that in your file, don't worry about it. It's just another search option that you set up the same way as SERP API. It's just I didn't find it as helpful. It just didn't seem to get good search results. So I went with the SERP API tool. But if you wanted to give that one a try, that might be a project for you. It's just, you know, all the code is there. You just got to change the wrapper. So, all right, guys, thanks again. Bye-bye.
And that wraps up our tutorial on creating your very first CLI app using Python and LangChain. I hope this beginner-friendly guide has shown you how accessible and powerful these tools can be. With a bit of practice, you'll be building your own language processing applications in no time. Remember, learning to code is a journey, and every little step you take is significant. So, keep exploring, keep experimenting, and most importantly, keep coding. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with others who might benefit. Your feedback is our motivation to create more of such content. Do you have any questions or encountered any problems along the way? Drop a comment below, and we'll do our best to assist you. And if you haven't already done so, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to stay updated on future tutorials. Here at our channel, we're all about helping you develop your coding skills in the most straightforward way possible. Thanks for joining us today, and keep an eye out for our next tutorial. Until then, happy coding!